All right. My name is Malcolm Nickens. I'm a former student, if you want to say that, of Coppin State University. I'm Eagle Scout. I am the 20-year-old young man living in Prince George's County, Maryland. And I'm tired. I'm really tired of how things have been handled, of how things have been perpetrated, of how things have been treated, how we have been treated for over the last 401 years in this country, and I'm ready to see change in a lot of it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, good day, everyone. This is Malcolm Nickens, man. So it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast today. You know what I mean? And I kind of want to start off by saying that, like if you're not frustrated at all, then there's something wrong with your racial awareness. You know what I'm saying? Something wrong with your consciousness.
Right.
If you're not in some type of rage with regards to something that's going on with Black people in America, particularly African Americans. Like, there's like an issue with the Black diaspora as like a whole around the world, but in America, there are so many issues that are systematically oppressing Black people that whatever field you're in, whether you're in education, whether you're in law enforcement, whether you're in like working at a store, like whatever you're doing, there is some type of oppression that is on us. And
Definitely.
For you to be a Black person or not a Black person, like for you to be a white person, a Hispanic person, a Filipino person, and you do not see what's going on, and the fight that we have to fight for our sanity, for our human rights, for our civil rights, for our God-given rights, that they so eloquently write in the Constitution, but they don't apply to all people because we look at the actions of these people and not the words, And so I wanted to ask you, how is it going up in Prince George County? Because I'm from Vegas. I moved out here in 2016, so I've been here for a little bit. But you were born and raised in Prince George County?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So did you have any type of experience with like law enforcement? Like, how was that experience?
Oh, okay. So for the first 14, 15 years of my life living here, I ain't really had no problems with law enforcement. Not until a little bit after my grandfather passed, is when everything started going downhill. And I'm just going to focus specifically on law enforcement. A few times with my cousin, when we were actually this is in Virginia. And if y'all know anything about Virginia, Virginia is a Commonwealth state. So laws there are not the same as laws in Maryland or North Carolina or Pennsylvania, or not Pennsylvania, or South Carolina or Kentucky or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So we got pulled over because his muffler came out. I don't understand how that worked, but he see a group of four black young men and one black young lady. He's like, okay, let me go and see if I can find something wrong with this here. He didn't, thank God. But what, like your slogan is to serve and protect. So to come to a group of young men and women with the intent of harassment, with the intent of, okay, how can I make these guys' day a little bit worse? How can I make this situation a little bit more stressful? You come over and just start yah rah rah. Oh, what y'all doing over here? What are you doing on the side of the road on the highway? Blah blah blah. Relax. And about last year, a year and a half ago, in Hillcrest Heights. If y'all know about no, you know what? No. Around Iverson Mall. If y'all don't know that area of Iverson Mall, if you don't gotta be over there, don't go over there. Just say that. But two police officers thought I was breaking into my own car with the key in my hand in the door. And next thing I know, I'm looking at 4 different guns pointed at me because they think I'm breaking into my own car because of the time it was, because of where I was, because of what color I am, because of my size. I'm 6'3" and I'm about 225 pounds. I'm a big dude. You know what I'm saying? So I guess they thought I was a criminal or whatever. I don't know. But Prince George's County Police, they got some issues. They got some issues that they need to figure out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, some people. I mean, when we talk about defunding the police, right? It's like it's not just talking about abolishing the police, which is a strong stance and makes sense, but not just that, but also we're talking about police reform. We're talking about how the police could be better, and honestly, I have the biggest issue that I have with the police is that it takes no time to become a police officer. Like it takes no time. Like the time that it takes. Like I can get a whole associate's degree, and I can go through like the process of becoming a police officer at least 4 times. And so, like, I think that the process to become a police officer needs to be longer, and it needs to involve anti-racist training. There are still places, I don't know about Prince George County, but there are still places where their targets are Black people, and the people that are saving the targets are white people. So like there's still targets like that. I know that like in Texas, and Colorado, like there's police departments that still have that. And I've sent letters to our county executive and to our sheriff that really indicate like that we're not using, like we're putting too much money into our police department, and our police department has not done like the best job with the money that we've been giving it. Like we've been paying taxes in this state, and we are supposed to be protected and served by the law. And so yeah. So like how do you think like the police should be like reformed? Should it be abolished? Should it be defunded? Like what is your perspective on that?
Now, when it comes to that, seeing as the origins of American police departments are to catch slaves, I really feel like in a sense they should be abolished, but like that would open the door for so much more harm. Well, not so much, but like a significant amount of harm opposed to the good people in a bad situation. So I just feel like their tactics should change instead of just absentmindedly going for somebody that's Black or brown. Go for somebody as you should be doing. Go for somebody that's actually doing a punishable offense. Go for somebody that you see trying to open their car door and you don't think they're trying to break into their own car, or somebody playing with a toy gun in a Cleveland park and you don't pull up, and 2 seconds later you shoot it, or you see somebody walking with a bag of Skittles and a can of Arizona and you don't think, hey, that's a hoodlum right there, let me go ahead and shoot it. Or you don't see somebody with a faulty taillight or whatever Miss Bland had, and you think, okay, she's a threat, let me go ahead and apprehend her. Let me go ahead and kill her in a jail cell and then paint it as a suicide. Or you see somebody selling CDs, or you see somebody X, Y, and Z, and there's hundreds. There are hundreds of more cases of Black and brown people being unjustly and criminally killed by these goddamn police officers. And there it is. There it is. I'm mad now. Oh, I'm mad now. Thank you. Thank you so much.
No, there are so many instances that don't make, like, we have to think that it took months for Breonna's story to be like nationally known. It took months for Ahmaud Arbery's story to be known. It took months for Flannel Castile's story to be known. Even when Freddie Gray was killed, people didn't really understand the story until like a month after that even happened. And so there's like multiple things that need to happen. First of all, there needs to be no quotas for these privatized prisons, because that is slavery. Like, literally, privatized prisons making billions of dollars off of free labor, off the backs of mostly Black people. You know what I'm saying? And they target Black communities. You see what I'm saying? They put guns in our communities. They put drugs in our communities. They build plants in our communities to mess up with our climate and our environment and our atmosphere that we live in. They underfund our educational system. They miseducate us. They undereducate us. They make us hate ourselves. And so all these things line up with our actions, but not only our actions, but like the perceptions of Black people, because they will just, focus on one or two things that some of us do, and make a generalization based off of the minority of us. Right. They'll just focus on the few of us that may kill somebody, or I may rob somebody. But that's not most of us. Matter of fact, that's not even how Black people are. You know what I mean? Like, we look at the history of Africans, and when you look at the history of Black people, we had got those attitudes and actions. That's learned behavior that we got from Europeans, from colonization. Right. And so the first thing is there needs to be no quotas, because quotas is institutional slavery. It is modern day slavery. That's just bottom line with that. Anybody wants to know about that, just read the New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander, and she makes it perfectly clear to you. If you don't want to read, watch a documentary called The 13th. Okay, it makes it perfectly clear to you that is modern day slavery. Period. Like modern day physical slavery. Yes. Now, we also have to deal with the issue of there are Karens who are calling the police on our Black men, particularly, but Black women too. And they're calling police for things that the police shouldn't be called for. You know what I'm saying? Right. And then they lying on us. That one white lady has said that, this guy is threatening me. And like, mind you, the Black man was a whole Harvard PhD, okay? Black dude. Right. In a park where he lives at. You know what I mean? He lives in a nice neighborhood. And that's why I really have an issue with Black folk who are in Prince George County who turn a blind eye to our current situation as Black people as a whole. And they try to say, oh, well, we live in nice neighborhoods now. No. Most of us, 52% of Black people live under the poverty line, respectively from what state they live in. Most of us are still in poverty economically. And so most of us in America actually physically see the issues that are going on. But even more than that, everybody is affected by the miseducation, the undereducation, the dehumanization of us, the repeated images that we see of each other on the news. Nobody else in America gets treated like Black people, like, during this time. You know what I'm saying? And like, Black people get treated the absolute worst. You don't see, like, These things don't happen in Hispanic communities. These things don't happen in white communities. These things don't happen in Asian communities. These things happen in Black communities. So not only do we need to get rid of the quotas, not only do we need to check the Karens, but like the third thing, and I'm gonna shut up, is that like when it comes to like police departments, we need to make sure that like that they understand the law, because there are too many police officers who only focus on one law and they act like they know everything. It's kind of like, you know, I don't know what like the specialty is, but like my specialty is like in sociology. And it's kind of like if somebody takes sociology 101, they act like they know like all the sociology. And I'm like, no, that's my major. Like I know, you know what I'm saying? Like I've been studying this for years, you know what I mean? And they take 101 and they act like they took 450. And it's like, no, like you need to go through, like you need to have an intense understanding of the law, and you need to have a perspective of I'm not working, like you shouldn't be, there's certain jobs in America where you shouldn't just be working for a check. You should be, like as a police officer, you should be working for the love of protecting and serving the community, because you're working for the community. You're working for people that are for you to work for them. You see what I'm saying? And so I feel the same way about educators. If you are a professor or if you're a teacher, you should not be teaching if your focus is just getting money. You shouldn't be teaching because your whole perspective is off. You should be teaching because you have a genuine passion to educate people with the truth. You know what I mean? So those are the three things. We need to make sure that we have an anti-racist curriculum for our police officers, and they need to have a strong understanding of the law to protect and serve our people. And number two, we need to get rid of this whole ideology of, hey, like we have to have quotas for these proper type prisons to keep slavery going in America. And then the third thing, what was the second thing? I forgot the second thing.
Stopping checking Karens or something like that.
Oh yeah, the Karens. Yo, we can't have Karens no more. Like we Black people are fed up. And like one thing that I saw on the news lately was that somebody said, like, oh, like I'm so surprised that these protests are like still going, because they usually like go, then like they usually come, then they go really quick, yada yada. And so, and like I forgot who it was, probably Tamika, but there was one Black lady on the news. She said the reason why these protests keep going and the reason why this urgency is still prevalent in Black America and in America in general is because there is no distractions. We don't have to worry about like basketball season, football season, baseball season. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't have to worry about like a lot of events that will distract us from our oppression. And so that's the beautiful thing about this moment, is that like there are significant changes that have been happening in this country. You know, I can't deny the fact that we have progressed significantly. However, we still have a long ways to go, and we cannot become stagnant. We can't get into this mindset that, okay, everything is peachy cream now because me and my family are good. See, like the issue in America is that people are too capitalistic and individualistic. And we have to understand that we have a collective good that is for the benefit of all our people. And particularly for Black people, where do we get brainwashed with the idea that it's okay just for our immediate family to be cool? When literally a few hundred years ago, it don't matter what part of Africa you were from, it don't matter what native language you had, Black people were sticking up Black people as a whole. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And so I don't know where that brainwashing came from. I don't know where that mentality came from, but we need to get back to loving our people, and we need to get back to loving the beloved community so that we can make the world a better place for our descendants. Because I don't want my descendants to live in a world where they have to worry about things that I have to worry about. So that's my take on it.
Oh, you got it, bro.
I didn't want to, but maybe I channeled that anger. You know what I'm saying?
You definitely did. Yeah, there it is.
You know what I mean? So that's just 3 things that I'm thinking about.
Yeah, go ahead, speak on it.
You know what I'm saying? That's just 3 issues. Checking the Karens, checking these police departments. If you're a millionaire and you're funding a police department and they are not doing what they're supposed to do in regards to treating Black people fairly,
that's a problem.
If your police department has quotas still in 2020, what is this, 1917?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I had this conversation a few weeks ago about July 4th, and people want to celebrate the Declaration, but basically the Declaration of Independence didn't have anything to do with Black people. That had to do with Americans saying, "Hey, we are independent from Great Britain." You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Great Britain. So it wasn't about, oh, well, Black people are independent. No. It actually was a form of protest, technically, because this whole time, Great Britain, it's kind of like Great Britain from 1619 up until 1777. They thought that they were kind of still above the Americans. So Alexander Hamilton was like, yo, I got the unmitigated nerve to say that, hey, all of us are not under y'all no more. That's basically the whole Declaration of Independence. That's basically what what it says. Now, it's very poetic. It sounds like the New King James Version of the Bible. But
right.
But the thing is, it don't, when you look at the context of what was going on during that time, we were not free then. And it is a strong argument that, are we free now? You know what I'm saying? Because look, from 1619 to 1777, we were still less than human being. We were less than 3/5 of a human being. It wasn't until Constitution that we were 3/5 of a human being. So we were less than a human being. Then we had became 3/5 of a human being. Okay, cool. Then once we had got the right to vote on paper, then people tried to say, okay, well, now you can become now you can be seen as a human being if you vote, because if you vote, that kind of signifies the fact that you have somewhere to stay, you may not have land, but you have a place where you living at and things like that. So it's so once we have the right to vote, then after that it's okay, we're still gonna put Jim Crow laws in place so that you can't vote. So it was a whole nother 80 years until we even could actually go out and vote. And then once we went and voted, we still were hosed down. People were hiding a vote, just like they are hiding our votes in Georgia and in Florida and in South Carolina. So anyway, my whole thing is that, even though we've come a long way, there is still the same urgency that our ancestors had a few hundred years ago. It's the same urgency that we should have today. And they were strategic, so we need to be so we need to be as well. Let's go into protesting. So I'm big into definitions. I'm big into not just the definitions of words, but how we use the words, because sometimes what's more important than the actual words being said is how we use the words, right? So how we actually say it. You can say "I love you" in a whole bunch of different ways. You can say, hey, you need some deodorant. You can say that a whole bunch of different ways. Hey, bro, you kind of that act's not working. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, you feel me? And so, I want to ask you, how do you define the word protest?
Now, in my definition, it's like a just rebellion to a regime or a mindset or an idea or a person or a place or a thing or just anything that you see is an oppressor, or you see is not being handled right, or you see is not isn't what it should be. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, all of that stuff.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I like that definition, and I'm going to use your definition for the rest of the conversation. But I like your definition because that definition is not limited to a physical showing, and some people will argue that like you have to physically go out and do something to protest. And I actually prefer your definition because it's not just the physical. You are making a decision to take a stand against something publicly. Now, publicly may be outside, like literally outside, but what you mean by publicly, and correct me if I'm wrong, but what you mean by publicly is not just being physically outside protesting in the street, but it can be protesting against a certain ideology. It could be protesting against a certain mindset. It could be protesting against what something stands for in order to stand for something that is just. And so, but why is protesting important? Like, some people will say, oh, well, what's going to happen is going to happen anyway. Like, whether we protest or not, they're going to do what they want anyway. Like, why is protesting important?
Now, without protest, no visible change can be made. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, ever since 2012, because that's the earliest that I can remember that people have been protesting that I've been alive for. You know what I'm saying? It's been gradual change, but it's been no real change. You know what I'm saying? Like Trayvon changed the world. Trayvon Martin changed the world for the better and for the worse. In my opinion, Trayvon Martin was the entry point for Donald Trump. Michael Brown was the entry point for Donald Trump, because I'm not sure who Donald Trump was pre-2012. He's been showing his ass completely ever since then, and it's like, wow, he's literally sanctioning the National Guard and the police departments and the army and whoever else to shoot his own citizens in the street like some dogs for protesting the murder, the lynching of a black man on the street of Minneapolis, Minnesota. That's perplexing to me. Man, I done got off topic. Wow. What was the question again?
Why is it important?
Yeah, like it's because you need to have some kind of abrasive change, and not this whole kumbaya, things will get better. Because saying it is so much easier than actually going out and seeing it be done. Mm-hmm. Saying that, okay, cool, we can say it into fruition. This is going to happen. But faith without works is dead. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So the works is a protest. The works is going out of D.C. The works is going out of New York. The works is going out of Minneapolis. The works is going out of Ferguson and Sanford, Florida, and Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The works is not going to Chick-fil-A anymore. The works is not buying from Papa John's anymore. The works is not buying from Jimmy John's anymore. The worst is actually going to your polls and voting, whether it be virtual or whether it be physical. The worst is going out and not booking to stay at a Trump hotel. The worst is going out and not, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to think of another one, but it's just doing something that you're not accustomed to doing to see change. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Like, you have to get uncomfortable. Like, I remember, I had heard about the Montgomery Bus Boycott in 1955 when I was younger, but I really didn't study it until I went to Morgan State University. And
Right.
at Morgan State University, I found out that they had protested for 381 days against
Yes,
the
sir.
buses. Think
Yes.
about that. 381 days. That's how long they protested against riding the Montgomery buses. And what you're talking about at the end of what you were saying was basically attacking the pockets. You know,
Yeah.
America is built on capitalism. It's built on, you know, everything is materialistic. Everything has a price on it. You know, how many followers you have, what's your net worth, which is how much assets you have. You know, everything is
Yes.
based around money in America. It's based upon how much attention you can get, how much ad revenue you have. It's really based on money. So, like a major role in America in terms of protesting is the role of getting the attention of those who are in privileged positions. To get their attention, we have to attack what they care about. They care more about the economy. They care more about money. And so one thing that we have to recognize is that if it ain't about money, then they ain't really gonna be listening. So we have to take a stand against places like Papa John's, places like Jimmy John's, you know, where Jimmy John's had like a guy there who had like the noose thing around his neck. And Jimmy John's ain't saying nothing about it, which means, you know, silence is condoning. You know, like I wanna just make that clear. If you are silent, you are condoning what's going on. I've been speaking now about how people in Palestine are being treated by the people of Israel. You know, if because you're not at fault if you do not know, but if you know how people are treated and you are silent about it, you are on the side of the oppressor because you are condoning it. You know what I mean? Kind of like if my sister is being raped and nobody said, and like I don't say anything, I'm condoning it. You know what I'm saying? And so the thing is, I have to advocate for these people because, you know, you said faith without works is dead. That's what Jesus did throughout his whole ministry. His whole ministry was advocating for those who are the widow, the stranger, the oppressed, the falsely accused. Even Jesus himself was falsely accused. Even the two thieves were falsely accused that were hung beside him. So Jesus himself was an enemy of the state. Jesus himself was someone who went against, he did things that were just, even though they were unlawful. Everything that's lawful isn't just. You know what I'm saying? Because people make laws based off of their own understanding and not based upon what's like the better thing for the greater community. Because people want to keep their privilege. People want to keep their, you know, their bougie, you know, status. And people have to be more selfless. Like that hard work, that hard spiritual work on like the heart is one of the most hardest, it's one of the hardest things. That's kind of the reason why Black people love Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is because he really changed the heart of a lot of white people who were oppressors at one point. You know what I'm saying? And so, but he did it through he was dead serious about Vietnam, dead serious about the economic plight of African Americans, dead serious about the housing inequity, dead serious about changing education. He was dead serious about the anti-apartheid movement. The apartheid movement that was going on in South Africa. He was dead serious about condoning the liberation of Ghana during that time. And so the thing is, like, this dude was, you know, targeted because he started getting more and more engrossed in targeting poverty and targeting, okay, we need to march for jobs and to end poverty. And he knew at that point that the only reason why poverty exists is because people are selfish. Like, the only reason why poverty exists is because people want to keep their privilege. The only reason why poverty exists is because of white supremacy plaguing the minds of people around the world. And so if we just attack that, then there's a better chance that we may have no more poverty in the world. And if we have no more poverty, then everybody will have a chance to be productive for society so that everybody can be better. So that everybody's futures could be better. Everybody's children could be better. That's really the mindset of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. That's kind of the reason why we have gravitated towards him. And so, like, when I think about boycotting, the buses back in 1955 in Montgomery, I think about why they boycotted. And I think about, okay, that was important because they had got the attention of not only the television networks and all that, but they got the attention of the lawmakers that were in Montgomery to change the laws, to make them more just, and they desegregated, they ended up desegregating everything in Montgomery. And so, well, on paper. And so, these small movements are really like small steps toward like a great cause, toward progress that is substantial later on. It's kind of like little pebbles on the beach, but eventually there will be a beach. Right. So I wanted to ask you this question: how do you prepare to go out and protest? And I'm not talking about like just wearing a mask potentially, or having some tennis shoes on, having some nice Carolina 9s on, whatever. I'm just saying, like, how do you prepare to go out, as far as like your mentality, as far as possibly like spiritually, mentally, like how do you prepare to go out to protest?
Well, I went out May the 27th, 28th, something like that. And just about that whole day, I was looking at names, just looking at names on top of names, on top of names, on top of names. I'm watching different documentaries the days before. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at what I'm saying. I'm looking at a couple of my good friends that have had less than pleasurable experiences with police. I'm looking at you know what I'm saying. I'm just going on YouTube looking at different clips. I even watched all 8 minutes and 46 seconds of George Floyd's death. Just to have a real fresh emotion going out to DC and then looking those police officers in the face and like, I know y'all weren't directly involved, but y'all are involved because you're in the same occupation, and you all not by law, but you all share the same beliefs and the same mindsets when it comes to your occupation. Now you as an individual person, I don't know you, so I'm not going to speak on that. But from what I've seen personally and what I've heard and everything under that umbrella, there is, to me, there is no such thing as a good cop. It can't happen. Mm-hmm. The ideology of the job itself is never going to be good until there is some kind of reform. There's some kind of major drastic change in how that specific agency is being run. You know what I'm saying? You can be the Pope Francis. I don't care who you are. As soon as you put on that blue uniform and that gold badge, you bad. You're going to be looked at as a bad person. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Well, that's a strong statement that like there is no such thing as a good cop. I think that like that's tough. You know what I mean? Now I will say that I will say that like historically I've preferred self-policing. Like when we had our policing our own neighborhoods, really changed the game. When Black people were policing our own neighborhoods, crime was down. You know, our businesses were flourishing. We had proper education. Like people were just at like, and I'm not just talking about. You know, like right after the Emancipation Proclamation or during the Great Migration time, but even more recently, like in like the 90s and late 80s, early 90s, where you had the prevalence of like the Crips and the Bloods, right? And and people don't understand the history. Like when I say the Crips and the Bloods, please take out the time to
research
and Google the purpose of the Crips and the Bloods.
Yes.
Please look it up because people don't understand that like the Crips and the Bloods were like they were one of the, how do I say,
original.
They're basic. Go ahead.
One of the like original Black revolutionist groups to be actually effective and have real longevity within the community.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, like I mean, basically both, you know, were well. Here's the thing. Some people say like they're like arch rivals and stuff, and depending on it really looks like it really depends on what neighborhood and what block you're talking about, and it's really because of certain people who are part of the certain gangs, and also just like the FBI had infiltrated the Black Panther Party, is this just like the FBI had infiltrated the Nation of Islam, they had infiltrated the Crips and the Bloods. So when you look at the history of quid pro quo, we look at what J. Edgar Hoover did as one of the most horrible people in America. Like he had planned the assassination of Dr. King Jr. He planned the assassination of Malcolm X. So, and these are things that are documented on like public domain. Like you can look this up yourself. Just look up quid pro quo. And so literally, like this is public record that you can get from the FBI website. I'm not even telling you something like it's like a conspiracy theory. These are things that you can learn from going on the FBI website. Okay, so they did the same thing with the Crips and the Bloods, and they, you know, not only did they put we weren't the one. It's not like there was like a whole bunch of John Lucases that went to Cuba and came back with guns. No, like America put guns in our neighborhood. America put these drugs in our neighborhood. And America, you know, and then one reason why the Italians have so much money in America is because of the benefits that they got from the 60s and 70s, putting so much money in Black communities, literally exploiting Black communities. And so, like with the Crips and the Bloods, yes, they, you know, they had started to come about in like the late 80s, but really in like the 90s is when they really were for the progress of their local community. Like when they said this is our block, they meant that we are going to self-police our block. We are going to take care of everybody on this block. I remember like I learned that Crip actually stood for the common revolution in progress. So like it actually stood for something. It actually was an acronym for something that's greater than just a quote unquote gang. I remember like when I was reading about, like I'm from Vegas and I wanted to learn more about the history of African Americans on like the West Coast, and I was learning about the Rodney King, you know, beating. And literally people don't understand that after the Rodney King beating, was that in like 92? After that happened, the Crips and the Bloods actually took a few years where they worked together. You see what I'm saying? They literally came together. And when that happened, then they had really, you know, like really scared some folk. You know what I mean? Like that's when the infiltration had happened.
Right.
So what happened on the way to a protest? Like you can like pick one instance and then just kind of go into like what happened on the way to a protest.
Well, for real, I mean, the car ride to DC, it wasn't really that eventful. You know what I'm saying? It was, you know, it was a car ride. You know, all the mental preparation was, you know, was focused on the actual protest.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Now, can I go ahead and go into how the protest went?
Yeah. So like, yeah, how did it go?
Okay. So we
once you got there, what happened?
Well, okay. Once I got there, I parked my car. We got out immediately. I saw just a huge group of people going some direction, going somewhere. Because on that specific night, I don't know about any other nights, but what I saw, there were multiple spots throughout downtown DC where there was just like hundreds, if not thousands, of people at these specific locations. And the one I just so happened to be at, the police were in the middle. I forgot what street this was, but it's a Hilton. It's a Hilton almost dead in the middle of the street, and they were pretty much in front of that. And there were two groups. I was on the group on the left, and you know they were just holding their line with their shields and whatnot, blah 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 blah. Then they started to back us up a little bit with the shields. That wasn't a whole lot. You know, that wasn't bad until they started throwing tear gas. They threw a can of tear gas for literally nothing, just to get us to disperse. Now, I don't know if your listeners know or not, tear gas is illegal in war. So there's no justifiable reason where an illegal substance in war is being used against citizens. But after we all reconvened at that one spot, the first thing I saw was every black woman officer that was on that line, none of them had a riot shield. That pissed me off so bad because it's so many. It was more white men officers than black men officers, but even the black men officers had shields. And when I saw that, I like, do you feel good as a man knowing that not only a woman but your colleague is putting her life exponentially further on the line than you are by not having that shield? You go home to your wife, you go home to your kids, you go home to your mom, you go home to your sister, you go home to your aunt, to your cousin, to your grandma, and I told the officer this too. I want you to look your wife in your face and see her face, and see your sister's face that's on the front lines that could have a stone thrown in her throat, that could have you know, whatever kind of projectile thrown at her, injuring her, killing her, causing mass destruction because you wanted to have that shield, not surrender it to her. You know what I'm saying? So after that, I saw two white officers laughing.
Wait, hold on. I have to go grab something real quick. I'm gonna pause the recording. Just give me 1 second, okay?
All right, cool.
All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Where to leave off?
You said that like you had saw people with like the riot shields, and you're saying that like you did, like all the black women police officers didn't have riot shields.
Okay. Yeah. So like I'm just like I made sure I took the time out to go directly to one of those women officers, and I was just having a real heart to heart with her, and I was just like they don't value your life. They only see you as a placeholder type shit. Like they're worried about themselves. So all right, well let me go and throw in this little expendable officer or whatever. Let me go and throw in somebody that won't make an impact if she's hurt. You know what I'm saying? That didn't sit right with me, and it evidently didn't sit right with her because she was on the verge of tears, heavy tears until other shit happened. So, I saw two white officers laughing because of whoever threw the tear gas, and so I went over there. I'm like, I want to laugh. What's so funny? So they stopped talking. So it was a thicker gentleman and I'm not even gonna say gentleman. It was a thicker dude and a slim dude, and I was talking to the slim dude, and I was engaging in regular conversation with him. You know, like, do you like your job? You know what I'm saying? Do you have a family? How long you been on the force? Blah 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 blah. Then, like, he thought shit was sweet or whatever. So I hit him with, like, do you like the color of my skin? He shut down like a light. So I asked him again, do you like the color of my skin? I thought he said something, but I didn't hear him. So I asked him, do you like the color of my skin? He continued to stay silent. So I took my bag off, took my mask off. You like the color of my skin? I started to get a little bit more irritated. So I asked him, at this point, I'm not even asking him anymore. I'm demanding an answer. Tell me if you like the color of my skin. Somebody sees that my fist is closed, so they go to grab it because I feel myself about to take off on this dude. Cause like I told you before, I'm just reading for names, and his silence was so deafening because that you're speaking for everybody that had a part in this 401 year ride that we've been on. And I don't know, it was something about his silence that was like, okay, I see what you're on right now. I see what MPD is on right now. MPD is Metropolitan Police Department. I see what your man is on because he over there looking at you, not saying a word. I see what your sergeant is on because he in the middle yelling nonsense, and it just clicked. Everything clicked. Everything clicked at that point because that something was going to go really wrong that night. Boy, did it. So we started to walk to the front of the White House, and this was around 8:20, 8:30, something like that. It's just folks throwing water bottles, throwing rocks, throwing shoes, throwing. I thought I saw somebody throw a phone. It was just a whole bunch of stuff. Then police threw. That wasn't even police. That was National Guard. They threw tear gas at some people, and everybody started stampeding back toward Constitution Avenue. I'm sorry, not Constitution. Lafayette Park. Then we all go back to the gate. That's when shit started getting really, really unchy. They started throwing can after can after can after can after can after. I counted about 8 cans being thrown. 2 of them landed at my feet. Cause for some reason I was at the very front. So I caught it. Everybody from like a 200-foot radius of me caught a heavy whiff of tear gas. And that was off of 1 can. So you look at 1 can and then you multiply that by 8, and the damage that 1 can did, and then multiply that by 8. Right. Oh my God, that was a massacre. So like that whole protest, that I can confidently say that changed my life because it's like since May 25th, the police has been the country for real has been on high alert, has been looked at by every hemisphere, every time zone, every whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And this goes to show this is America at its best behavior. On camera, when they're being recorded, they can't help themselves but to act like this. So when the cameras are off, and you see somebody being shot for walking down the street, you see somebody kneecap being busted out for helping somebody up after they got their ass beat. You see somebody being hit in the spine. You see somebody's spine being fractured by being arrested and detained in Baltimore, Maryland. You see somebody, anything being happened, and that's where the camera's on. Camera's off. It's a whole different story. It's so like in PG alone, in places like Kettering, in places like not district heights, in places like Eastover, in places like Largo, in places like Forest Creek, in places like Glass Manor, in places like those. It's a little wild over there because police don't know how to act, and because police don't know how to act, the citizens are going to eventually trickle out of control. Now, I'm not saying that they are out of control. I know people in all of those places. Everybody not that way, but when police really start to act their ass, like start to act their ass for real, stuff starts to go wrong, and when stuff starts to go wrong, oh yeah, it's not a real big margin of recovery, or if there is a margin of recovery, it's going to be a very, very slow winding process of recovery, because like the damage is almost irrevocable. You know what I'm saying? It, like going back to like Reaganomics and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't even gonna go into that, man. Ronald Reagan is the devil. I swear for God, Ronald Reagan is the devil. Yeah, like just that whole night was just so wild and so life changing, and yeah.
Wow. And like this was on May 25th?
No. This was on May. You know what? Let me look at the exact date.
I mean, it was like the end of May.
Yeah, the end of May.
Yeah, like the end of May.
But yeah, May 27th. Where that video in? Oh, I'm sorry. May 31st.
Oh, okay. Wow. Like, yeah, the last day of May. It's like all the way in.
Yep. Man, that shit was crazy. And yeah, that was my experience from the first protest I went to. I went to another one around June, the beginning of June.
Hey, hold on. So like after that first one, like how was the ride home? Like how'd you get home? How was the ride home?
So of course me and the dude I was with, we had to wait out because the sensation after being tear gassed, it feels like you can't move, you can't breathe, you can't see. I can barely taste for real. Like it's such an overwhelming sensation that you almost feel helpless into every move you make, every breath you take, every time you move your eyes to see what's around you, every time you move your arm to try and wipe it out of your eyes or whatever. It's just so it's such an intense pain that overtakes almost your entire body. Mm-hmm. So we had to wait out a little bit to go home because I was in no condition to drive whatsoever. But on the way home, it was a lot of silence for real. It was like in a sense I couldn't believe what just happened actually happened, and I was a part of what just happened. You know what I'm saying? But like I was in the midst of that silence, I'm just in my thoughts heavy. I'm in my thoughts as to, okay, some needs to be changed, and some needs to be changed very quickly and very abrasively. Some, I know your sister's a very big music buff. I don't know about you. Yeah, are you too? Because I feel like you.
I would say so.
There you go. So it's this song by Billie Holiday called Strange Fruit.
Strange Fruit, yeah.
Yes. I played that song on the way home. That was the perfect song for this entire scenario. So if you listen to the song to the lyrics in depth, it's almost a mirror cop. Like, I see strange fruit hanging around me. It's a bitter tasting fruit. It's like she's talking about dead black bodies hanging from a tree. And what we saw in Minneapolis was the perfect embodiment. Even though it wasn't a literal hang by the neck on a tree, we saw an innocent man. This man had a counterfeit $20 bill. That's I mean, it's punishable by prosecution, I guess, but death, fuck no. So
right,
we saw a lynching in 2020. We saw something that we thought had been abolished in 1863, which we know didn't happen for real. But hey, who am I to say? You know what I'm saying? It was just so. It was such a powerful moment playing that song, because it was made in the 50s, right, or the 60s or 40s, something like that, right?
Wait, which song?
Strange Fruit.
Billie Holiday. That's like the 40s.
The 40s. That was 80 years ago, and the words of her song are still relevant to this day.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. So, you know what I'm saying? That just really put everything in perspective. That, you know, while we have made a pretty exponential amount of progress, we have a lot of land to cover before we get to our final destination. And I just hope that me and you and everybody else are alive to see some of the fruits of our labor being blossomed. You know what I'm saying?
With like no more strange fruit. Now, how was the second protest?
Oh, the second that joint was so. It was calm. It was a definition of a peaceful protest.
And it was. You said it was like June something, like the beginning of June.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So this one, it started out at Showplace Arena in Upper Marlboro, and we walked to the courthouse.
Oh yeah. I saw that flyer. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. How was it?
First off, it was hot as hell. I will say that. I will start off with that. It was hot as shit. But you know what I'm saying? Like
What is hot? Like how many degrees was it?
Shoot. It had to be like 92 or something, like 92, 93, something like that.
With like humidity.
And it was humidity, and it was no clouds. I was wearing all black. I don't know why. You know what I'm saying? You
make it worse on yourself.
I didn't know it was like hot type shit. Like, golly. I walked out the house. I'm like, damn, who pissed off God like this?
Right.
But we got out there. We got to the Showplace Arena and into the parking lot, and it's a for where it was and how much notice was given ahead of time. It was a pretty good turnout. But I saw the police there. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? So then they started to march with us. They not only marched with us. They took a knee with us.
Wow.
They did all.
How was that?
And
they took a knee with y'all.
Now, this might sound a little weird, but I ain't like it that much. Not. This is why. the color uniform they had on, they had to be sheriffs or something like that. So to me, it just seemed like it was a facade for real, because the cameras were there. There was some, I don't know who they were with, but there were cameras there. And I just felt like if those cameras weren't there, y'all would not be here with us to kneel, to march, to do any of that. So it's kind of, yeah. So it's kind of like that kind of fake love. Oh, I'm gonna do this because people are looking. But you know what, this is great. It's kind of like when we're the younger brother and the police are the older brother, and cameras and the nation for real. This general area is the parents, and out of their sight, it's all bullying and tormenting and blah 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 blah. But as soon as the parents look at you, hey kid, hey kiddo, hey brother, you okay today? Did you finish your homework? Like it's not genuine whatsoever.
Right. Yeah. I was just talking about this last night. Like, when it comes to these shows like the Ayana Fix My Life and like shows where talking about relationships, couple, all that stuff, like these reality shows and stuff, like some of it may be true. You know what I'm saying? Like some of it may be genuine emotion. Like some of it may be. But we know that like if we're talking about like a show like Dr. Phil, or we're talking about a show like Ayana Fix My Life, the real therapy and the real help is done when the cameras are off. When the cameras are off, that's when the real work is done. And so you're saying that, hey, like you can say, like people say a lot of cute things and people do a lot of good things when the lights are on. But the real work is done when the lights are off. And especially when the camera is on, especially during today's society, like, you know, the Baltimore Sun might focus on, or not Baltimore Sun, the Washington Post, because that's kind of like our local newspaper. The Washington Post might focus on, hey, during this protest, these PG officers had marched and peacefully protested and kneeled with these young people in Prince George County. Meanwhile, there's all these things that are happening in Kettering and in Glasgow and all these cities like you were talking about, or these towns, communities that you were talking about just now. And, it's really not highlighting the whole scope of what's going on. You know, and I think that, like, you know, sometimes when police officers do these little small acts of solidarity, they do it just so that they can clear up their name, or just so that they can look like they are better than what they actually are. And so I think that, like, that's kind of what that's kind of like the gist of what I'm getting from you, like in regards to that.
Yep, pretty much. Yep.
So like basically y'all just walked from like the courthouse, from the the community center to the courthout, or?
Yeah, pretty much. The Showplace Arena. The arena. Yeah.
That wasn't that far though, was it?
No, it may have been like a 5-7 minute walk.
That's just down the street.
Yeah.
So what, did y'all sing on the way? Did y'all?
It was different chants. Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery. No justice, no peace, no racist police. Just the regular stuff.
So like it didn't feel genuine to you.
Like me, people like me, that felt genuine. But the whole thing, it just, I don't know. It didn't. You know what? The march there, whatever. When we got to the courthouse, first of all, we left. All right, so I'm not sure if you've been to the courthouse or if any of your listeners have been to the courthouse, but there's like a statue directly in front of the building.
Mm-hmm.
It's like some horses and I think a soldier, and we were just walking around that for like 10-15 minutes for nothing. And then we stopped wherever we were. We just stopped and we took the knee, and there was nothing being said throughout almost the entirety of us being there. So I don't know. It just it felt like I understand the cause, so I'm not gonna call it a waste of time, but that like we're basically just standing around looking at each other because that's what was being done. There was nobody was saying nothing. Well, nobody was saying nothing for that needed to be heard type shit.
So here's my question. Why did you like the DC protest more than the Prince George County protest?
Because I felt like there was a more impactful movement going on in DC as opposed to in Upper Marlboro. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I don't want to say that violence is the answer, but when there's a clash, there's going to be some kind of reporting. When there's a very visible difference in opinion or action against action, there's going to be some kind of documentation as to okay, this just happened, as opposed to oh well. Like, perfect example. The ratio between us hearing about these court hearings and blah blah blah, as opposed to people fighting, as opposed to people like in each other's faces, as opposed to people like, you know, actually on the front lines demanding, pushing for justice, for action. The latter half is going to be heard about much more and at a much more effective light, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Like, court hearings, yeah, I mean, we're going to hear about the verdict, but we're not going to hear about the details that went into the verdict. You know what I'm saying? Like unless they were already brought into light, they're not going to show, okay, well, they had this 10-hour hearing for a 2-minute verdict, as opposed to you watching the entire hour or 2 hours or 3 hours that people are outside protesting, and you're seeing the results in front of your eyes. You're seeing, and maybe a year or two down the line, the result of that protest or that string of protests, you see it, and it doesn't go away. It's not forgotten about. It's not to March on Washington. We're still feeling the effects of that. The Million Man March in 1995, still feeling the effects of that. March for Our Lives last year for gun reform in schools, still feeling the effects of that right now.
Yep.
So
yes, sir.
I don't know. I just feel like those kind of things are more effective than what happened in Upper Marlboro.
Yeah, it's crazy because so you're the first person that I talked to that have been to a one protest that wasn't as organized as like you've been to like one organized one in Upper Marlboro, and like you've been to one that's not, I would say, not as organized as the one that's in Upper Marlboro. And sometimes when people have these organized protests, people feel like they're not getting a lot accomplished because there's not enough being done. Whereas if you're at a protest, sometimes that's not as organized, there's more substance. You know, like there's things that need to be heard at the protests that are not as organized.
Right.
And you're like the first person that said that, but I think that that's important to say, because some people will assume that just because a protest is more organized and because it's like police walking with you and stuff like that, then you will have a better experience. But that might not be the case. Like, you might just feel like, hey, I feel the same way I felt after the protest. You know what I'm saying? Whereas the first one that you went to was transformational for you.
Yeah.
So you know, I'm not trying to condone, you know, having protests that aren't organized. But what I am saying is, if you are going to have a protest that's organized, make sure that it is a transformational experience for folk.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
make sure that what y'all are saying are not just like the cliche stuff and just making everything seem like everything's peachy cream. You have to have these difficult conversations at these protests. You have to agitate during these protests. You have to talk about what's really going on, our suffering. We can't just be tap dancing at these protests. We have to be vigilant during these protests, because our Black women are dying and are crying because of Black men's deaths, and it's not nothing that's light. It's nothing sweet about it. There ain't, like, this is coffee with no creamer. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
This is just black coffee. You feel me? So from like the first protest you had talked about, you know, on the way home, you were kind of, it was silent and it was basically reflective, and you were just shocked that even happened, and that happened while you were there. So how was the ride home from the second protest?
Be honest with you, I like directly after I got into my gym or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So I was just feeling good on the ride home, you know what I'm saying? Like, of course, I'm still
we
in that
gonna be
mindset.
All right, like you.
There you go. There you go. But like, it wasn't so much of let me go and think about what just happened. It was more so of let me go ahead and think about what can be done in the future. You know what I'm saying? Like, not so much like, okay, this just happened, this was said, this resonated with me. Nothing resonated with me at that march, except for the fact that under the right circumstances, well, actually, let me not say the right circumstances. Under the necessary circumstances, people can come together and really lobby or rally for a real effective change. But it was just so, the impact of it was so underwhelming and so, I hate to say it, so insignificant that it was just so, like, it was cool. It was a cool little function. It was a cool function. But I don't know. The ride home, it's back to business as usual, for real. You know what I'm saying?
And like that's the thing, like, I wouldn't even consider it lobbying, you know what I'm saying? And
right.
And like, because when I think of lobbying, I'm thinking about basically influencing the actions of our public officials. So,
Right.
you know, I'm thinking about, okay, what are we demanding of our public officials?
Right.
And it seemed as though you were saying that, hey, like, we're not asking for anything. It's just kind of like, hey, we're just gonna hold hands with these police officers as if they're not hunting us down. And so it's like, so we should be lobbying. You know what I'm saying? Now, I have my you know, state officials, my legislators, my legislators, like, written on my wall, or not on my wall, on my whiteboard, because I want to memorize who these people are, because that's what my ancestors did. Like, they had to know, at least, especially my recent ancestors, like my grandmother, my great grandmothers, like they at least knew, you know what I'm saying, knew who they voted for. I think they're like a bigger part of not only, like, you know, not only paying homage and honoring the people who sacrificed for our right to vote, but also just, you know, having a say in what goes on in our neighborhood, having a say in, you know, like, how the budget should be used, things like that, like how different things should be changed. It's like, we have to vote, you know what I'm saying? And so, you know, if you're listening to this and like you don't know your governor or your lieutenant governor or your state senators, just look it up. Like you just go to and you can go to rockthevote.org and just type in like your state and then like your county or whatever, and then they'll go by like your address and like they'll tell you who your representatives are. So definitely go ahead and do that, because honestly,
yeah,
that's something that like few people do. So like me saying this, I'm only expecting only one person to do that. Cause like it's kind of like I remember like back in when I was in Business 101, they taught me, okay, you always want to follow up with whatever person that you connect with. As far as like connections with business, whatever, and with resources, with human capital, you always want to follow up and you always want to have some type of consistent communication with people, and you want to do that because most people ain't gonna do that, and so you have to do what most people ain't gonna do. You know what I mean? And I believe that when you vote for people, you're voting on behalf of people who cannot vote, first of all, who have gotten that right stripped away from them. But two, you're also voting for folk who either chose not to vote or can't actually pay for a stamp to send it in, or they can't get their mail because their mail gets robbed or whatever. Like you're voting for folk who actually like can't vote, that actually have a place to live. And so your vote, like when you don't vote, you're voting for like the wrong person. And
yes.
that like I think that conversations like that should be had at these protests. Like I'm big on courageous conversation. Like when people are contemplating whatever it is, whether it's in religion, whether it's in their future occupation, whether it's in their role in the Black Lives Matter movement or in the movement for civil rights and human rights for Black people in America. It's like we should encourage asking courageous questions. We should encourage asking those difficult questions, because it's through those difficult questions that we get phenomenal answers to those questions. They may not be the best answers, but we've seen that these answers to these questions have gotten us through these years in a progressive way. And we have to look to the progressive way of things and not keeping up the status quo.
Right.
There is always room for a better society. There is always room for a better America. There's always room for a better state of Black people. And so we should hold ourselves accountable and then hold each other accountable to to keep people who represent us accountable, to keep our representatives accountable, to keep our delegates accountable, to keep our people who are our delegates in our district, or our lieutenant governor, or our sheriff. I know that our sheriff is Melvin High. You know what I'm saying? One of my like Melvin High, like there's some things that I disagree with him on, some things I agree with him on, but I have to go to these state meetings. You know what I'm saying? When I can, not all the time, because I'm in school. What I'm saying? Like I have responsibility, I understand. But we have things called email, and we have times when we can actually sacrifice. Okay, I have to go do my public duty. I have to do my public duty and go to at least one or two of these meetings to see what's going on, to see how they what's the lingo, what's their what's their perspective on black crime and things like that. Like I need to know what's going on in my city. It really is like a global change always starts local. A global change always starts local. When we look at the Montgomery Bus Boycott, that was really the driving. Well, it was the Montgomery Bus Boycott, and it was the killing and lynching of Emmett Till. But both of those was really like the when Rosa Parks had really said she wasn't going to get up from like on that bus. You know what I mean? But it was really before Rosa Parks. It was really Claudette Colvin. But I don't want to get into that. But Rosa Parks, Claudette Colvin, and people like Pauli Murray, people like William Augustus Jones Jr., people like Otis Moss Jr., people like rest in rest in peace to CT Vivian, and you know what I'm saying, Representative John Lewis, people like that who were from the young people to the old people saying, you know what, we are going to take a stand against this. And then on top of that, we're going to boycott with initiatives. We are going to boycott with a lobbyist perspective, with, okay, I'm going to demand this from my representatives. I'm going to demand this from my delegates. Sometimes, and some things we need to endorse certain bills that are presented to the Senate and to the HOR. But that's not all that we should be focusing on. We should be focusing also on, okay, what is going on in our local community, and how can we change our public policy? How can we change the policies in which we govern ourselves by according to like the law? You know, because we don't want to be always in a state of emergency. We don't always want to be in a state of you know, like I have to look behind my back. It's kind of almost unimaginable to think about a world where we don't have to worry about race, right? Because it's so ingrained in the fabrics of America. You know, I'm reading a book called "The Faces at the Bottom of the Well" by Dr. Derek Bell Jr. And Derek Bell Jr. was a Harvard professor, a Harvard law professor. He was actually the first African American law professor at Harvard, and he actually got fired because he had advocated for the roles of Black women at Harvard, and he had took too big of a stand against Harvard's decisions against Black women. But so after he left there, he went to NYU. But anyway, he wrote this book called Faces at the Bottom of the Well. And the core foundational principle of the book is that racism is in the fabric of America. Like racism is is like the basic understanding of America is built on the understanding of racism. Like it's like white supremacy and racism go hand in hand, you know? And so when it comes to the fabric of America, when it comes to what this country was built on physically, but also the mentality of the country, it was built on this ideology that Black people have to suffer at the expense of white people can have so much privilege based upon how much Black people suffer. And so now we don't actually see our physical lynchings as much as they actually do happen, because they happen when our Black women are put into the system for crimes or for acting out just as much as white women act out, but they are targeted in our schools. They're getting sent to detention a lot more, and our Black men are getting sent to these detention centers into these what's it called, turnaround schools at a higher rate than white men. At a higher rate than white boys. When white boys do the same thing, thing, sometimes even worse. But Black men but the perception of Black women as, you know, they can take more they can take more you know, beating, they can take more tyranny, they can take more pain. And then like the perception of Black men, Black boys as, oh well, black boys can, you know, like they just tend to have this deviant behavior. These are things that are taught by Willie Lynch. These are things that are taught by Jim Crow. These are things that are taught by people who literally have been at the crux of the American foundation of society. You see what I'm saying? And now it's a global ideology. But so Dr. Derek Bell talks about this in his book Faces at the Bottom of the Well, and he's absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Like, and so even though we don't see as many public lynchings as we do now, we are not going against just the public lynchings, but we're going against the systematic lynchings. we're going against the systematic racism that is prevalent in our community. You know, like the educational, like even the whole idea of like white Jesus, things like that, and how everybody in the Bible was was white when literally nobody in the Bible was white. You know what I'm saying? It's like everybody in the Bible was not white. Everybody in the Bible had some type of tan in them. You know what I'm saying? Even people like my homie Moses. Moses was mixed. You know what I'm saying? My man was Egyptian and Hebrew. You know what I'm saying? But guess what? The Egyptians weren't white. In the Hebrews weren't white. So guess what? We're talking about two folk of color. You know what I'm saying? Two folk of color. So anyway, like white supremacy has plagued our understanding of the word of God. It's plagued our understanding of ourselves and our history. It's plagued our understanding of this country's history. It's plagued our understanding of world history. Like it's really played how we embody ourselves in this fight for justice and equality and freedom for Black people. You know, it's like Jesus did not just come here just like to be cool with white people. Like Jesus ain't like God ain't the God of America. You know what I'm saying? God is the God of all creation. You know what I'm saying? So, and Jesus came to liberate the captives, to set the captives free. And who is the captives right now? Us. You know what I'm saying? And so the thing is, you know, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I feel like Fannie Lou Hamer said, "Hey, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired." You know what I'm saying? And she was vigilant. People try to act like Fannie Lou Hamer was like Rosa Parks, but no, like Fannie Lou Hamer was vigilant. Fannie Lou Hamer had a shotgun at every corner of her house. And every time white supremacists and KKK members came to her house and shot into her window, she shot back. That's what Fannie Lou Hamer did.
That's a boss.
Did that. You see what I'm saying? And so the thing is, we don't even have a good understanding of our own history. And I think that, you know, we need more teachers that teach the truth about history. We need more educators that educate our children without highlighting white people and degrading Black people. We need to understand that, okay, Pythagoras and Plato and Socrates studied in Timbuktu. You know what I'm saying? They studied under the leadership of Mansa Musa's University of Timbuktu, which was the biggest university of all of human history so far. And these Greek philosophers studied under us. You know what I'm saying? So it's like like Black people have been such a giving people. The people of deep melanation have been such a beautifully giving people, a people that just have been open arms to particularly Europeans. And we kind of felt bad for Europeans. And so the thing is, like, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be nice to them anymore. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is we need to have a strong we need to do better with our understanding of our history. We need to do better with our obligation to do what is right, to hold people accountable, to hold ourselves accountable, you know, and we need to do it with integrity, with courage. We need to do it with understanding that we can't ask nobody for freedom. You have to demand freedom, you know? My next question is, so I want to preface it by saying that I don't want to come across as if everybody who works for like a mainstream news corporation has ill intentions or anything like that. But my question is, has mainstream media and news corporations reported on protests accurately?
No, they have not.
How so?
So okay, so I can only speak on what I saw. So when I was down in D.C, I did see some people trying to inflict violence and harm upon different businesses and whatnot. I did not see one black hand throw one rock. I did not see one black hand spray one line of paint. They were all white people. You're not gonna see that on the news. Of course, people like news outlets like CNN and I think NBC. They would show how police were treating the protesters, but not to the degree of not. They would show them, but not in a 100% realistic light. They would still show, hey, you know, this is happening, but hey, still support the police, you know, or hey, these people might be the new Nazi soldiers, but hey, still support the police. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just such like it was almost like a half-ass job. Not even almost. It was a half-ass job. Because they knew what they could have shown, but as in fear of retaliation from 45, let me not put that on the airway. Instead of showing what actually happened, let me go to a movie to World War Z and show Philadelphia in the movie when it was burning. Philadelphia was never burning to such a drastic degree that you can see multiple plumes of smoke just going into the atmosphere at once. That's what? No. The last time I saw that was like 1992 with in LA. So that in itself, that specific clip showed me, okay, they're not gonna show it for what it really is. So since then, I've just been going to Twitter, I've been going to Facebook, I've been going to Instagram, I've been going to places that really have nothing to lose to show what's actually going on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I was just saying that I remember like when I was young, when I just started doing like research, I'll be like, look, like I can't get my information from places that aren't credible sources, but I changed my perspective a little bit because I found out that a lot of these news corporations they get money from attention, you know what I'm saying? And they need headlines. That's why every time you go on Fox News or MSNBC or CNN, they have the headline right there with smaller headlines zooming across because they get money from viewership. You see what I'm saying? Now, that is at the expense of telling the truth and telling the truth accurately, right? So it's like a lot of these news corporations will be telling a lie with sprinkles of the truth. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like what you're getting is not what's really going on because you're only getting like a portion, and how they explain it is highly slighted. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Sometimes it's too quote unquote liberal, and sometimes it's too quote unquote conservative. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, I think that you know, like I had used to think, okay, you know, I can't get my information from like places that aren't, you know, deemed as, you know, established places. But now I'm like, as far as what? I mean, if we're talking about like protests and, you know, looting and things like that, rioting and things like that, like you have to listen to the people. You can't put your trust in like news stations that have like I'd rather get my information from people who have nothing to lose, people that are just telling the truth, people that are on IG Live, Facebook Live, protesting, you can see it live. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Excuse me, you know what I'm saying? From the protesters' perspective, not from the perspective of a news corporation where some hierarchy person is telling them, okay, go to like this area and say this with like these people. No. Like I want the raw footage of somebody going to a protest and taking me with them. I want that footage. You see what I'm saying? And so I think that this moment is really changing how people even view what is good footage, like what is good evidence, like how do we get our information? And I think that like that's going to be interesting in like the long term things, because people are going to be quoting tweets. People are going to be using tweets and hashtags and Instagram live, saved Instagram lives that are on YouTube, whatever, YouTube videos for, for like future reference. Right now we use like the Rodney King video. We have the picture of Emmett Till. We have, we have interviews of folk who were interviewed during certain protests or after certain protests, after certain riots, during certain riots, yeah, etc. But now we have so much more media now. I think that like that's just going to change how we even view, what is the right way to get this type of information. And I think that like our like people who are living now, like our kids are going to be looking back on 2020, and like they're going to be saying, hey, like how can I get this type of information? And they're going to be seeing tweets, they're going to be seeing IG lives, Facebook lives, you know what I'm saying? So that's going to be very interesting. So I have a couple more questions. How, like, this question is kind of like a tough question, and I want to preface it by saying that I don't expect systematic racism to end like tomorrow, but I do believe that like we have to, stay hopeful and work towards the mark, and like you said, like faith without works is dead. So what can we do to end systemic racism in our society, or work to?
I feel like it can't really end until we're heard, until we're heard in such a way that our words and our actions are almost ingrained in your memory. You know what I'm saying? Like I at this point, I don't care what happens, as long as let me not say that. As long as nothing too extreme or too violent happens, I don't care anymore, because this has gone on for too long. It's been too many things, and it will be more things before some real change happens. So it starts with the higher ups listening. We as a people need to vote, not just in presidential elections, but in sheriff, when somebody's going for the sheriff, when somebody's going for the school board, when somebody's going for
senator, delegate, yep.
Yes, because those are the people that actually pass the laws. President has no power with that. So if you want to see a law being changed for real, I'm not going to say don't care about the president as much as you do, but have it be a even distribution for who you care about and who you want to see in the offices. Now, of course, there's going to be those people that have the opposing differences, but this is just in this area. Prince George's County is the most wealthy Black community in the United States of America. The power we have in this area is so it's there, but it's almost forgotten because they don't know how to use it right. We as a whole, as a collective. Now, of course, I'm assuming you, people in my circle, I don't allow myself or anybody else around me to have a voice and not use it. So I want to speak for myself. I use my voice, and so do the people around me. But there are people that I do know that don't use their voice like they should. And if they did, God, it would be such. It can start right here, and it can trickle throughout the state, then the East Coast, then the Midwest, then the West Coast, and then it's going to get to a point where all 48 contiguous states are one, like the name of the country suggests. We're all united. We ain't united right now. We have never been, and it'll be a little while before we are. You know what I'm saying? But if everybody just did what they were supposed to do, everybody did what they were granted the right to do. If everybody ate the fruits that if everybody ate the fruits of the seed that our grandfathers and great grandmothers and great 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 grandmothers and great 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 aunts and whatnot fought and bled and cried and agonized over, it would be so much different and for the better. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Yeah.
No, like we have an obligation to use our voice. Like you can't. I question if people are even conscious or aware if they don't use their voice. Like you have to use your voice. It's not something that is an option to me. And I'm gonna get to that later. But there is no reason why you shouldn't be using your voice. It no matter what profession you have, it no matter what your responsibilities are, it no matter what economic status you are in, it don't matter. You should, especially right now, you should be using your voice to speak out for the disenfranchised, for the marginalized, for the oppressed. And right now, we are focusing on Black people. Right now, we're focusing on the oppression of African. If you are a Black person and you're not advocating for Black people, then there's an issue.
There's a big issue.
If you are a non-Black person and you are willingly being silent, then there's an issue.
Right.
Because like in both of those instances, you are being a house Negro. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is.
Now, my last question before I like kind of wrap it up is, what keeps you hopeful that our descendants will live in a better world?
Oh man. I ain't even gonna lie. For a hot minute, for a real hot minute, I had lost hope in that completely. Because I'm like, for the amount of Black people that's in this nation, and to see voter turnout and to see voter results, it's like it's almost like some people are content with staying in the conditions that we're being forced to be in right now.
Mm-hmm.
But where my hope rejuvenates is, in the sense, social media. I know social media has been a plague ever since its inception, but it can be beneficial because without social media, we would not have known about half of the cases from 2014, 15 to now. You know what I'm saying? Like, and even if we did hear about it, they'll be fizzled out within a week or two. That's why I'm so grateful to social media for Black Lives Matter. That started out as a hashtag, and now it's almost a global movement. You know what I'm saying? So that is my main source of hope. And also people like LeBron, people like Kyrie Irving, people like Steven Jackson, people like to a degree Max Kellerman, like people in sports that they know eyes are on them. They know how many eyes are on them. They know what kind of eyes are on them, and they still say the necessary stuff that needs to be heard. Like I don't know if you follow the NBA or not, but over the last 2 days, Tobias Harris and Marcus Smart, they both had like post practice or post workout interviews. They wouldn't answer any questions. The only answer to each question was justice for Breonna Taylor. I will not stop until Daniel Cameron arrests the officers that killed Breonna Taylor. It's that kind of stuff that they're like, okay, like this is being televised nationally. This is on This is on social media platforms that have tens of hundreds of million followers collectively, and by these few words, somebody's going to hear it, and somebody's going to take action. I don't know when, but it's going to happen. It's almost like a foregone conclusion. Like, okay, proof is in the pudding. Let's start eating the pudding, please. Let's ingest what's being said, and then this might sound a little weird, but shit out all of the results that we need to see so it can be there. So we can be there, and the necessary people take the necessary actions to implement this change. You know what I'm saying? And yeah.
Hey man, well, I think that that's like wonderful that like Tobias Harris. He said Tobias Harris and Marcus Smart.
Yes.
Yeah, like what like they're doing is phenomenal. Shout out to Kyrie Irving and LeBron James as well. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to like the LeBron James, the I Promise School. I mean,
yeah.
Yes. I'm sure that people like Denzel Washington, Dwayne Wade, Michael B. Jordan, John David Washington, like they're probably doing things behind the scenes that we don't even know. Because we kind of there's some people who are in entertainment who kind of do things on like the low, you know what I'm saying? And so I want to give love to them too, but there's people like LeBron James who just do stuff publicly, and like Marcus Smart and Tobias Harris who like do things publicly, and that to do that, it takes a lot of strength and courage to do things like that. And we are grateful for these voices that are speaking on behalf of the fallen in the black community. You know what I'm saying? People who have been killed because of no knock warrants, have been killed for literally jogging in their own neighborhood, have been killed for literally going to the store and getting some snacks, have been killed for literally being a little girl in her own home, like being killed for watching TV in my own crib, being killed for literally being accused of having a counterfeit bill, and being and just literally being in front of a store selling stuff. It's like and then being killed, and then on top of that, the news justifying their killing with insufficient reasoning. And so, there was this article that I read that came out during the Bush administration, and it was called "The Dumbing Down of America," and it talked about how America is literally getting dumber the more that we depend on other people to speak on behalf, to like us depending on technology to do work for us and things like that. And so we have to get smarter, and we have to recognize that nobody there ain't no Superman's gonna save us. You know what I'm saying? We have to, we don't have any choice but like to use our voice and like to use the gifts that God has given us to make a substantial change in our communities, and to hold those accountable, like hold the people accountable who said that they were going to do better, hold the people accountable who have been benefiting from our dollars, from our taxpaying dollars, and we're paying them to do a shoddy job. That's not okay. You know what I mean? So yes, there are going to be delegates and senators and representatives who you're not going to 100% agree with. There hasn't been anybody in history that I've 100% agree with. That's not the point. You're not supposed to 100% agree with somebody. You're supposed to pick the best option. That's the point of voting. The point of voting is picking the best option in regards to what values that you have according to your values. Like, who is the best candidate according to the values that you have? So like, even though we're like exhausted, we are tired, we are frustrated, um, we have a moral obligation, we have a religious obligation, we have a spiritual obligation, like we have a humanistic obligation to to uh to advocate, to share our voice, to share our experiences, to listen to Black people. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? To listen to the voices of our Black mothers, our Black sisters, our Black fathers, and our Black sons. We have to listen to each other, and we have to recognize the fact that none of us are free until all of us are free. The struggle is a collective struggle. And just because some of us live in a better society, a better neighborhood, or just because some of us even benefit from white supremacy because of colorism and because of capitalism. Some of us have been handed down some money, or some of us, had some type of success in business, or some of us, benefit from looking whiter than others. You know what I'm saying? Some of us are mixed. You know what I'm saying? Like J. Cole. You know what I'm saying? And so some of us benefit from colorism, which is from racism. And so, like, we have to recognize that and still fight for what is right.
Right.
And fighting for what's right demands that you use your voice. If you do not use your voice, then you're not fighting for what's right. You are being complicit in what we're fighting against. You are being complicit with the status quo. You're being complicit with what Donald Trump is saying. You know what I'm saying? And so, I'm not saying that people, like, the point is that we have an obligation to want better for our communities, to want better for the nation, and that requires agitation. That requires speaking out. You cannot want better for. It's kind of like if my mama is in the hospital and she's suffering from whatever she's suffering from, whether it's like a disease, cancer, whatever it is, and she's suffering, and I don't tell the doctor, hey, doctor, come back, my mama is suffering. It's like, yo, everybody gonna think that everything is cool in the hospital. But no, I have to advocate for my mama. If like the doctor says, hey, we're gonna give her some medicine, and like this medicine is a medicine that my mama is allergic to, I'm like, yo, my mama can't take that because she's allergic to it. Now y'all might not have known that, but I know that because my mama didn't told me. And there are things that there are there are certain communities that are in these hospitals that don't have advocates, and we need to advocate for these communities. You know what I'm saying? We need to advocate for our own communities because most of us ain't gonna do it. During the civil rights movement of the mid 50s to like the mid 70s, like black the majority of Black people were not out there. You know what I'm saying? They were just at the crib. It was the select few of us. It was like it was the minority of us who was out there protesting for us. It was the minority of us that was going on those 1,000+ protests that John Lewis had organized, that helped organize. With like the Progressive National Baptist Convention and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and etc. Like with SNCC, with the NAACP, like that wasn't the majority of Black America. That was some of us, because a lot of Black Americans were like, nah, I'm good. I have my job. I want to keep my job. I want to stay cool at my house. But if it wasn't for the John Lewises, if it wasn't for the Freedom Riders, if it wasn't for the Black Panthers, then we wouldn't have the freedoms that we have now. You know what I'm saying? So we need more folk who advocate without having the ideology that, okay, I have to say it in like a PC way, or I have to say it in a way that's nice for everybody to, no. Say it how you feel it. You have to be brutally honest. You have to when you go to the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture, there's a quote that as soon as you walk in, so basically, like when you go to the Museum of African American History and Culture, they take you to like the bottom level, and like you like go up throughout the years from like the bottom level all the way up, okay? And there's like levels that like you go up. And there's this quote by John Hope Franklin that you see as soon as you get off the elevator. And he said, hold on, I'm about to quote it verbatim because I don't like misquoting folk.
Right.
He said that we've got to tell the unvarnished truth. And the unvarnished truth just means explicit. It means without hesitation. It means without trying to be politically correct. It means without sanctioning or without any type of limitation, without any restriction. We have to tell the truth 100% to how we feel it and what we see. So if we see somebody's knees getting kicked out of place, we have to say they knees was getting kicked out of place. We can't say, oh well, there was like a fight. No, if we saw that, we gotta say it how we saw it. We gotta explain the way that we feel it. So, white people, y'all gotta listen to us. You know what I'm saying? And we're tired of being silenced. We're tired of us not being listened to. And black folks, you may be a black person and you may be in a nice, privileged community, okay? But you have to understand that is not most of us. And just because you feel like you're free, that don't mean that you're free. You know what I'm saying? You are not free because all of us ain't free yet. And that is the mentality that we should have. We should have a communal understanding that we are all not free yet, which means that, I don't believe in I think therefore I am. That is what Descartes teaches teaches people, that's like a Western philosophical ideology that comes from Europe. But I'm not from Europe. I'm from Africa. And in Africa, we have this term called Ubuntu. And Ubuntu means I am because we are. I am because we are as a collective. And so I believe in that. And so that's what we all should believe in. So you should be advocating for your own community and hold people accountable, including yourself. And Malcolm, you had talked about earlier how you hold your friends accountable. You're like, hey, if you're not using your voice, I gotta ask you why you're not using your voice. You know what I'm saying? Because I want to be a friend, but it's like, yo, if you're not using your voice, then there's an issue. You know what I'm saying? Because there's like too many people dying, suffering, getting killed, getting lynched, getting murdered in the street, in jail. But like when the cameras are off, people going missing, and it's like you out here just not saying nothing. That's not okay. You know what I'm saying? So, without all being said, man, hey, if you have anything else to say, you can go ahead and say it now. Tell people how they can reach you. Anything like you like to say to the people?
If you have any questions, you know what I'm saying, you can DM me on Instagram, Twitter, Groovy Mouth. You know what I'm saying?
How you spell that though?
GROOVYY. Don't forget the extra Y, MAL. You know what I'm saying? I'm a groovy dude, so y'all gonna know it. You know what I'm saying? All I really gotta say is rest in peace to John Lewis, rest in peace to CT Vivian, justice for Toyin Salau, justice for Breonna Taylor, justice for Elijah McClain. And yeah.
Hey man, we're praying for the families of Breonna Taylor, Atiana Jefferson, Sandra Bland. I mean, the list goes on. And thank you so much for coming on, Malcolm. Really appreciate you, man. And yeah, this is like a long interview, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut it. It's probably part 2 of it now. So thank y'all for listening.
Yes.
Thank y'all for listening. Most importantly, y'all, shout out to my man Malcolm. Tell him, just give him some love. Black people in general just need encouragement. We need love because we're just talked down upon all the time. So look, shoot him out some love. Give him some encouragement. Pray his strength. You know what I'm saying? And we we're gonna keep agitating. We're gonna keep lobbying. We're gonna keep protesting because that is our obligation. You feel me? Thank y'all for tuning in, and that's all. Peace.
Peace out.